Live streaming wedding ceremonies is a fantastic way to provide a great service to your couples, grow your business, and make significantly more income from every wedding that you film. In this video, I want to walk you through the easiest way to live stream an entire wedding ceremony, showing you the tools and equipment that you should use, how to set them up from beginning to end, and giving you professional advice from my 15 plus years of experience filming weddings. To save you time on the equipment front, I'm going to link to a cheat sheet that I've put together that has all of the gear that you will need to live stream, very easily organized. You can download this cheat sheet completely for free at the link in the video description. And in addition, I want to give a shout out and huge thank you to the sponsor of this video, YoloBox, because I'm going to be using the YoloBox Extreme in this video, as it really is the beating heart of the live stream setup that really makes it all work. Now let's start by talking about what equipment you're going to need for your wedding ceremony live stream. First, you need a camera, at least one, but if you want to get fancier, you could use 2 or even 3. For the sake of this example, we're going to be fancy, and I'm going to be using 3 cameras for this live stream to really show you some fun things that you can do. You're also going to need at least one wireless microphone system that I recommend putting on the Efficient for the ceremony. This way you can guarantee that you are always streaming high quality audio, and this mic will pick up not only the Efficient's message, but also the vows from the couple as well. Now, in the past, to run a ceremony live stream, you would need a switcher box that would handle all of the connections from these cameras and switch between them. The switcher would then run into a laptop that would either be connected to Wi-Fi at the wedding venue, or I've also run Ethernet cables several hundred feet at weddings before to guarantee a better connection while also connected to Wi-Fi for redundancy. As you can see, running a wedding film live stream has been a lot of work in the past. You need cameras, a switcher, laptop, internet. But what if you could simplify all that? What if you could make it dramatically easier by removing multiple required components and replacing them with just one device? That's where YoloBox comes in. Specifically, this is the YoloBox Extreme, but they sell multiple different devices depending on the size of the live stream that you want to do and how many cameras you want to use, etc. I will link to my YoloBox recommendations for different wedding sizes down in the video description. The main thing that you need to know is that this YoloBox is capable of handling the job of the switcher, the laptop, and the internet. And this makes live streaming a wedding dramatically simpler. Now that we've covered the equipment that you're going to need, let's talk about setting it all up for a wedding. First off, you're going to want to set up a home base of sorts where you can run the YoloBox. With previous, more complex wedding film live stream setups that included a laptop, I would set up a table where I could put the laptop with all the connections. This table would go off to the side of where the guests would be sitting or in the back of the ceremony. But because the YoloBox is replacing all of that extra gear, though, it can have a much smaller footprint. So instead of a table, I recommend mounting it to a tripod or even a light stand, which will be unobtrusive and enable you to have the screen right at eye level while you are using it. Now, if you were wanting to run a live stream with just one camera, you could even clamp the YoloBox to one of the legs of the tripod that your camera is on. Then, to connect your camera to the YoloBox, all you will need is an HDMI cable that will run from the camera to the YoloBox. One thing that's great about this setup being so small and portable is that the closer the YoloBox is to your camera, the shorter of an HDMI cable that you will need to connect to your camera. Of course, though, if you want to use multiple cameras, which remember, this device works as a switcher to enable you to change between camera angles very easily during the live stream, in that case, I would have it set up where the YoloBox is on a light stand and then run HDMI cables to each camera. The main thing that you need to remember is that regular passive HDMI cables do have a length limit before these signal degrades and they stop working, and this really is going to depend on the resolution of video that you are live streaming. The YoloBox Extreme supports up to 4K live streaming, but for a wedding, I would recommend sticking with 1080p or 720p, which will be easier on your live streaming bandwidth while still giving you a high quality video that the guests of the wedding will be able to watch. If you want to stream in 4K, though, you are only going to be able to use HDMI cables that are about 10 to 15 feet in length. But if you're streaming in only 1080p HD, you could get 25 to 50 feet of HDMI cable run. To get around these limitations, though, if you look into purchasing fiber optic HDMI cables, these are more expensive, but can give you much longer cable lengths of hundreds of feet without issue. Just be aware that these cables will be more expensive. Remember, I'm linking to every single piece of gear that I recommend in the cheat sheet that's available for you to download for free in the video description. If you're planning on running a 2-camera setup like this, I would recommend positioning one of the cameras to the side of the ceremony so you can show one of the couple's faces and the officiant, and then I would set up the other camera in the back of the ceremony on a tripod filming up the aisle so you can show a bit wider view of the ceremony. With a setup like this, you will be able to cut between both angles of the ceremony while also being careful to avoid having your cables in a place where a lot of people are going to be stepping on them. Now, do you want to get cooler? Here is the ultimate wedding film live streaming setup in my opinion, and this is going to be really easy for you to pull off and it's going to look awesome. This is going to be a 3-camera live streaming setup. So we're going to have the 2 cameras set up just like we talked about at the side and the back on the tripods, but for this 3rd camera, we're going to introduce a wireless live streaming option. So for this 3rd camera, you're either going to have it handheld or mounted onto a gimbal, and then you're going to use a wireless transmission system. In this case, I've used a Axoon Cineview to wirelessly transmit the video signal from the camera to the YoloBox. So what this means is that you have a fully mobile live streaming camera. You can follow the bride as she walks down the aisle. If the guests are important to the couple, you can include them in the live stream. This opens up so many possibilities. And just like with all of the other cameras, everything still runs into the YoloBox, which makes it super simple to run the entire live stream. Speaking of the YoloBox, this is also where we need to turn our attention to this fantastic device, because with your cameras set up and running, I'm now going to walk you through how to use the YoloBox to tie everything together specifically for a wedding ceremony live stream. First, you're going to want to turn on your cameras and the YoloBox. Then you're going to want to set your camera to record at 30 frames per second, because I find that 30 or 60 FPS works better for live streaming than 24 FPS. Then you're going to want to connect the cameras to the YoloBox using HDMI inputs 4 through 8 on the YoloBox Extreme. I recommend using inputs 4 through 8 because these are the inputs that support 4K and they should be a bit more compatible with your camera. I would only use the other 3 inputs that are only 1080p if you absolutely needed to. Now with all of the cameras connected, we're going to select enter for live streaming and then press the red plus button to start a new live stream. We're going to call this one Wedding Ceremony, but you can call it whatever you want. Just remember the title that you choose here is what is going to show up on your streaming website as well, so be careful with that. You can also put in a description here, schedule the live stream if you know that the ceremony is going to be happening at a specific time. If you want to also, you can create an event cover, which will also be the thumbnail for this live stream. And I would recommend creating a custom wedding film live stream thumbnail, and this can help make your live stream look more professional. With that done, go ahead and press create, and here is your wedding film live stream on the left, so we're going to tap on that. Now that is going to open up and present you with the main live streaming interface where you can control everything. Any cameras connected should automatically be recognized, but if they aren't, just tap the add video source in the bottom left and select which input the camera is connected to. As you can see, you have a ton of options here, including the option to add an image or even load a website. I would recommend creating a custom image that says something like, the ceremony will be starting soon. That way you'll have a visual to show on the live stream before you actually show one of the cameras. Now with that selected, go ahead and press the back button here, and let's talk about the main interface here. On the top left, you have a preview for your live stream. On the bottom left is going to be all of the inputs for your different cameras that you can tap between to switch between all of them. And on the right, all of your settings can be adjusted. First, you're going to want to go down here to the bottom right and swipe over here to the right on the menu down here to this hourglass icon. Click that. And then this is going to be your video transitions. You're going to want to change this from the more generic cut to the fade option, which notice whenever I do that, now whenever I tap between the inputs, they have a really nice smooth fade that looks really good. A little bit better than the instant cut, in my opinion. Next, on the bottom right, you're going to see a record icon here, and then to the right of it, there's going to be a angled bracket with an underscore. Go ahead and tap on that, and that's going to bring up all of your streaming settings. I recommend setting your live streaming resolution to 1080p, the frame rate to 30 frames per second, and the bit rate, you should be able to leave it at 4 megabits per second. Then, here's where things get really cool. The YoloBox Extreme can also record footage from the live stream, and here's where you will change those settings. I would recommend setting your recording to be in 4K 3840 by 2160 at 30 frames per second, and then increase the bitrate up to about 50 megabits per second. And then for more settings, select H.265 as your encoding format. Then go back down to the bottom right and tap on the record icon. And if you go up here to the top right, here is where you can select where you want your footage to be recorded. You can either have it record to the internal storage, which actually has a lot of space, or you can insert an SD card or a USB stick. Then down here, you have this select recording source option with a bunch of checkboxes. And this is really important. By default, the YoloBox is going to be set to program, which means that anytime that you change between these different video inputs, it's basically just recording this video and the input that you have selected, stitching together a video that has all of these different inputs. But alternatively, you could tell the YoloBox to record all of these different inputs if you wanted to by checking these boxes. This way you can have all of the angles separately recorded, which is really cool. Then you're going to want to set the recording limit time to 10 minutes, meaning that, don't worry, the YoloBox will continue recording past 10 minutes, but every 10 minutes it's going to save each video clip and then restart the recording. So in the event that the device loses power, etc., you only lose 10 minutes of footage, not your entire video, which is great. And lastly, here's this really cool feature called Generate Timeline FCP XML file, which if you enable it, the YoloBox will create a timeline file that you can import into Premiere Pro, Final Cut, or DaVinci Resolve, and it will have cuts in all of the places where you change between each of the different inputs. It's basically a pre-edited wedding ceremony video, which you can use in the event that you wanted to live stream the wedding ceremony at a lower resolution and then record higher resolution ceremony files to create a ceremony video for the couple after the wedding. You could also charge more for that. It's a great way to make extra money. With that done, we need to focus on audio now, because obviously your live stream is going to need audio of the officiant and the couple. Remember, I recommended that you get a wireless microphone system, and you're going to put the microphone on the officiant and then connect the receiver directly into the YoloBox through the microphone input jack here at the front. With that now connected into the microphone input, we're going to tap the speaker icon on the bottom left, and this is going to bring up the screen that has all of the audio inputs that the YoloBox is receiving. At the top, you have PGM, which stands for program, which is all of the inputs combined together. And down below that, you have your individual inputs labeled HDMI, as well as your microphone input, which is labeled mic. Because you're only going to be wanting to live stream audio from this one microphone, you're going to want to turn off all of these other HDMI inputs by tapping on the on to make sure that they are grayed out. Then you can also turn off the headphone monitoring for them as well. And then you're going to want to make sure that the microphone setting is turned on and the program setting is turned on. Now, if you wanted to run multiple microphones, maybe you wanted one on the officiant and another on the couple, you could do that and run the other microphones into the cameras and then turn them on here as needed, because they're going to be transmitting the audio through the HDMI. But what could make things really cool is that if you wanted to make things more automated for switching between all of these different cameras, you can select the auto switch icon down here on the bottom right, which is the two cameras that have the lines between them, and then select the video follows audio checkbox, which if you select that, that's going to make the YoloBox automatically switch to the camera where a person is speaking into their microphone. So the camera would stay on the officiant while they're speaking, but once the bride or groom begin to speak and say their vows, the YoloBox would automatically switch to their camera angle because it recognized that their microphone was picking up audio. This is some really cool advanced stuff. Let's go back over to the default though, and back to the sound settings, because there's one more thing we need to talk about here. This little headphones red icon below this is how you can turn on and off your headphone monitoring. And there's a headphone jack at the bottom of your YoloBox that you can plug into to monitor the audio as it is recording. With that, the YoloBox is now set up and you are almost ready to live stream. The last thing you need to do is select the platforms icon in the bottom left, which is the one dot and it splits out into other dots. And this is where you can choose the platform that you want to stream to. The YoloBox supports Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, as well as custom RTMPs and the newer SRT format, which is really like any other live streaming website out there will support one of these formats. So you have a ton of versatility here. All you have to do is select the platform that you want to connect to and tap link, which is then going to bring up a list of your accounts. If you don't have any created, tap add account, and that's going to open up Google Chrome, which will then let you sign in to your account for that specific live streaming platform. press continue, go on ahead and log in, and then you can go back and it will then be linked here, which I have done for Facebook. Then whenever you want to live stream, all you have to do is enable the connection. It will then say, where do you want to live stream to? You can select your timeline or pages if it's Facebook. But with that turned on, all you have to do is tap go live and you will immediately be live streaming to that platform. But this is, of course, the moment where we need to turn our attention to the internet, which is the final puzzle piece of live streaming. You need to have a consistent and reliable internet connection to make the live stream work. Thankfully, the YoloBox has you covered because it easily offers the most connection options. Keep in mind that every wedding ceremony is going to be different, but even if you're filming an elopement in the middle of nowhere or a barn in the country with sketchy Wi-Fi, let me walk you through how you can make sure that you have a steady connection. First, you can connect the YoloBox to Wi-Fi, which it has antennas on the side to boost its ability to send and receive signal. If that doesn't work though, or if you want a stronger connection, there is also an Ethernet port, which, like I said earlier in this video, I have run an Ethernet cable hundreds of feet before at a wedding to make sure I had a stable live stream connection. And that is a great option as long as the venue has a router in a location that you can hopefully access and run the cable from. Lastly though, here is where the YoloBox steps above all of the other live streaming options because it also has a built-in SIM card slot where you can insert a data SIM card from any cell phone company and use that to live stream as well. So if you are filming a ceremony out in the middle of nowhere, you can still live stream. But I hear you telling me, Matt, weddings are a really important event where anything could go wrong. And maybe the Wi-Fi will work before the ceremony, but once all the guests arrive, they'll try to connect to it and the signal will fail, or maybe you're running an Ethernet connection and the couple's dog who they wanted to have in the ceremony chews through the cable, or there's a solar flare and the cellular connection stops working. Well, can you tell I'm paranoid? Some of these things have happened to me before, but that is where one of the strongest and best features of the YoloBox comes in my opinion, and that is a feature called network bonding, where you don't have to just use one of these connections, Wi-Fi, internet, or cellular. You can use all three of them at the same time, combining them together to make your live stream as smooth and as error-free as possible. This is an extra paid feature from YoloBox, but in my opinion, it is completely worth it for the peace of mind it will give you. And it also makes sense they're charging for it because it takes a lot of server work behind the scenes to pull it off. YoloLive, the company that makes YoloBox, has servers all over the world. And whenever you use this network bonding feature, they will route all of the Wi-Fi, Ethernet, and cellular traffic through their servers, which will combine all of the data. So if the dog chews through the Ethernet cable, the Wi-Fi will take over. And if the Wi-Fi craps out, it will fall back to cellular. All three of these connections will work together, and it all happens behind the scenes without you needing to really do anything. You just turn on this feature and it works, which is great. With that, as I hope I've been able to show you in this video, live streaming a wedding can be dramatically simpler than you may have ever thought it could be if you are using the proper tools. If you want to simplify your live streaming setup for weddings, a YoloBox makes a lot of sense and can help you save time and money on a switcher and laptop. Plus, whenever you add in the extra features like great battery life that will easily last through even the longest wedding ceremony, and network bonding to help guarantee you have a good live stream by using Wi-Fi, Ethernet, and cellular together, this device is a no-brainer. I will link to the YoloBox Extreme that I used here in this video, as well as other YoloBoxes that I recommend for smaller setups in the video description. And I've also linked to my wedding film live streaming cheat sheet down below as well for you to download completely for free if you want to see all of the other live streaming gear that I recommend. Thanks so much for watching. Please like this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you loved it and you want to see more videos about filmmaking and video editing, and have a great day.